Hello and welcome to another episode of the OnStage Colorado podcast. I'm Alex Miller.
And I'm Toni Tresca, and it is our Thanksgiving episode.
Gobble, gobble, yeah. And this week on the podcast, we're going to be talking about some of the shows we've seen, some news from around the state, our top 10 Colorado headliners, and we're going to do sort of a holiday edition. And then later in the episode, we'll have an interview I did with Meghan Frank from Theater Artibus and Amber Blais from Starry Night Productions. So these two companies are teaming up once again, this time for a holiday-themed show called Moonlight Elves. And it was a really fun conversation I had with these two great theater artists. They were so fun to talk to. So stick around for that to learn all about Moonlight Elves.
Yeah, both two very interesting theater people, very cool companies. So I look forward to hearing that conversation a little bit later in the episode. But first, let's dig into what we've seen.
Yeah, well, I didn't get out. I was gonna see. I was supposed to get out to Firehouse Saturday night, and I just I wasn't able to go. So I will get to their show, their new Topher Payne show next week. But I wanted to mention that I did get out to see the tree lighting this was the opening night of the Chris Kindle Mart and the tree lighting in its new location at the Tivoli Quad, right on the sort of the MSU Denver campus, the joint campus of all these places. And I think it's really a big improvement over some of the stuff that in the last few years. They've got more space. It's kind of a nicer neighborhood. And it looked like they had more booths for the Chris Kindle Mart and stuff like that. But it was fun. We took our granddaughters and they got to, the Mayor Mike was there and they got to help plug in the giant plug for the Christmas tree, the Rocky Mountain Christmas tree.
Hey, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, they got a kick out of it. And he's really great at stuff like that. He's a very personable guy. Whatever you think of his politics, I don't live in Denver, so I don't pay that much attention. But yeah, he was great MC there for that. And then the only thing I was going to mention was that I watched this film that you had reviewed for the site from the film festival, Train Dreams, which it's on
just
Netflix.
Hit Netflix this weekend.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man, I really loved it. It was very. It's based on a Dennis Johnson novel, and it's just a very, very, it's not the kind of film that's certainly not any kind of blockbuster action movie. It's really a character study about this one guy and his kind of really rough and tumble life, sort of at the dawn of the, not pre-industrial, but it was kind of, the early 19th century or the 20th century, and just this guy just kind of making a go of it in the woods in the Pacific Northwest, and really recommend that. It was a really great kind of a mood piece in a way, really ethereal in places and sad also, but also in life affirming in other ways. So Train Dreams on Netflix. That was really good.
I'm really glad you checked that one out and enjoyed it. That was one of my favorites from the festival. It's a really great film. Like you said, has a really commanding performance from Joel Edgerton at the center. It's not super flashy or anything. He's not a man who's super expressive.
No.
He's very stoic.
Yeah.
And so he tells a lot about how he's feeling by just his face and how he kind of subtly reacts to these situations that are going on. It's got some really sweeping cinematography at play of the forest. There's a really great shot of the tree falling, and the camera follows the tree as it falls down near the start of the film. And from that moment, you just know this is going to be a really special film. I'm glad it's on Netflix so more people can get to see it. Like I said, it was really one of my faves from the Denver Film Fest.
Yeah. Also a great, I don't know if I'd call it a cameo, but it was Bill Macy had a really great part as kind of the old man of the forest in there. Who shows up at all these logging camps. So, but you got out to a lot more stuff on stage. So tell us about your busy week at the theater.
It was quite busy and not centralized in one location. I was going up north, around the metro area, and then down south to Colorado Springs for a variety of different shows. Very, very, very different offerings. I'll start with the first thing I saw up north in Johnstown at Candlelight Dinner Theater. It's the Million Dollar Quartet Christmas. And as we mused about on the podcast last week, the plot is absolutely paper thin, whereas the original Million Dollar Quartet kind of builds up to this real life image of the men are at Sun Records Studios. The Christmas version kind of takes the opposite approach. It shows you that picture, and then it just proceeds to just immediately start into a bunch of different Christmas hits that are like Jingle Bells, Santa Baby, as well as some other of their hits thrown in, like Great Balls of Fire.
Mhm.
It could be really kind of just cheesy, but Candlelight has hired some really incredible musicians who really know how to perform. They sell the shit out of these songs. It's very fun. It's not very heady. It's not going to make you think, but it will. If you are in the mood for kind of a nostalgic Christmas, this is about as well done of a production of Million Dollar Quartet Christmas as I think you could do it.
That's great. Yeah, it sounded like a lot of fun from reading a review, and maybe a good palate cleanser if you watch like Train Dreams or something like that.
Definitely. If you're looking to kind of balance what you're watching, this is definitely on the lighter side. So maybe pair it with a headier watch like Train Dreams or Hamnet, like we talked about last
Yeah,
week.
yeah. Well, I'm really curious to, I was really interested to read your review of this year's iteration of Camp Christmas, which you were sort of, I guess, surprisingly enjoyed.
I did. I was kind of hesitant, as I noted in the review, when I first heard that this year's Camp Christmas, this is the 7th edition of the experience created by Lonnie Hansen as what in partnership with the DCPA's Off Center division. It's now back at the Stanley Marketplace, and rather than being confined to one specific section of the Stanley as it's been in the past, it's now been blown up and spread out all across the Stanley. And when I heard that, I thought, uh-oh, budget's been slashed, and this is going to be a really kind of skimpy, slimmed down version of Camp
Yeah.
Christmas, because they only really have one section over in the east side of the Stanley that has the actual walk through Camp Christmas. However, much to my surprise, spreading it out didn't really diminish from the experience so much as force you to slow down and really take it all in, the craft of it all. Lonnie and team have designed pretty much every single inch of the Stanley, fully decked out 3 bars inside there. The Merry Badge scavenger hunt, where you hunt for 20 different badges spread out across all 3 floors of the marketplace. It's not particularly challenging, but it's puts you in parts of the market that you maybe wouldn't have gone to, or I had never been to before. I can just confidently say that. Like, for instance, there's one Merry Badge. This is, I guess, a bit of a spoiler. It's the beauty one, and it's up on the 2nd floor by the beauty shop. Never been to this spot before. Looks like a pretty cool, swanky spot. And so the Merry Badges are kind of placed strategically in alignment with the Stanley businesses. And while the walkthrough experience, you can kind of see the seams a little bit, as I note in my review. Like, for instance, there's this wall in the pink room where you can literally just see that the images on the wall are printed out pieces of paper that have been framed.
Mhm.
And so you can literally see the seams in that way. Like, they hide the heaters with the curtain. So it's definitely not as expensive or fully produced as in years past, but it still retains that kind of kitschy, campy spirit that Lonnie and his team are really known for. So while the kind of walkthrough experience is definitely slimmed down, the rest of it really makes up for it. And I actually ended up spending about an hour 15, an hour 30 doing the whole experience, whereas in years prior, I was in and out in about 45.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't hurt to get the merchants on board too, since they probably saw some uptick in their sales and, maybe help extend the life of Camp Christmas. Yeah. After reading your review, it's like, oh, I'm definitely going and gather up some kids and grandkids and go out there. It sounds like fun.
It is definitely fun. I think they would get a kick out of it. And then the 3 different bars for the adults along the way have some really fun Christmas drinks that are there. And I got a little bit of news, Alex. When I was talking with Lonnie, from both Lonnie and Charlie Miller of Off Center, whom I ran into at the
Mhm.
opening on Friday, Lonnie told me that originally Camp Christmas was supposed to be done on, drumroll, 10th Street this year. Can you
Really?
believe that?
Wow.
Yeah. Apparently, it just didn't end up working out for a variety of reasons. But Lonnie was like, I kind of feel like that would have been a disaster. He would have had to fully produce it at the same level, but totally on his own, because he's funding it this year rather than having additional funders come together like the DCPA to kind of support this project. And so I thought that was really interesting to see that was one in talks and then obviously didn't happen. But it was interesting to kind of hear his thoughts on that situation and conversations with the city.
Wow. Yeah, that is interesting. Yeah, I could see some interesting things, like you get, a bunch of homeless people to play the elves or something like that. Or I'm sorry, I shouldn't joke about
Alex.
that. I know, but it would be a challenging environment because I haven't been down there in a little while. I think they're getting closer to having it a little straightened up, but it was just been such a mess for the last few years.
It definitely is better, and they have a lot more, just, like, security and police presence down there doing patrols to kind of really intentionally clean up the area, but Lonnie was gonna do what is he was gonna do the window dressings in those vacant storefronts,
Okay, yeah,
whereas
that's a
now
good
the
idea.
city has filled with art. That was what he was gonna be his playground, so it was really going to be reminiscent of his work in, like, Cherry Creek when he did the window dressings over
Yeah,
there. It's over at the Stanley. It's still pretty cool. It's spread out, but I just thought that was interesting that those conversations were happening.
yeah,
And then the second bit of news is that I caught up with Charlie Miller, the outgoing co founder and kind of driving creative force behind the DCPA's Off Center, which announced earlier this year that it was going to be no longer producing original immersive work. Caught up with Charlie. He's doing very well. I talked to him a little bit about his plans post Off Center in March, and he was pretty forthcoming. He said his plans are to stay in Denver and stay in the immersive space. He didn't have anything that he could announce at this moment in time, but he said that he plans to have something to share publicly before March.
cool. Well, I'm glad to hear that he's sticking around, and best of luck to Charlie for whatever he does next, because he's definitely was a great advocate for that program, a good artistic and creative sense for those things, and it'd be great to see what his next act is.
I mean, when I really started thinking about it, it just doesn't make sense for Charlie to leave. He's a sixth generation Denverite. His family is all here. His kids are in school here. He has a really strong relationship with Denver, and he seems really invested in making immersive work here. So it doesn't make sense for him to leave, and I was very glad to hear from him that that's not his plan.
I think the next frontier of immersive should be mobile immersive. So
Mm.
you've got trains, you've got the RTD, you've got gondolas at the ski areas, you've got
Oh, interesting.
yeah, I think it'd be really interesting to start to think about, like, what can we do? Like, even those, like, those, I don't know what they call them, where people get on this contraption and pedal and drink at the same time. Maybe you could do something with that program or whatever. So
Yes.
that's my idea for immersive in Colorado, mobile immersive.
They do a version of that around the holiday times. In Golden, they do the Polar Express on the train
Yeah, yeah,
every year. That's a beloved holiday tradition. That's mobile immersive, like you're talking about. It's
yeah.
interesting. I hadn't considered blowing that up to other modes of transportation.
Yeah, I think something on a gondola ride at a chairlift, at a ski area would be really fun because you've got the restaurants at the top of some of these. You could mix that in. And anyway, that's neither here nor there. I want to hear about this. This next thing you did is completely different. Batman Live at Rise Comedy. I wanted to hear about this one, and your review made it sound like it was an awful lot of fun.
It's very fun. It's definitely catered to folks who have an intimate relationship with the Caped Crusader. It is directed and written by Rise Comedy co-owner Nick Armstrong, and it has a pretty big cast of a bunch of different rogues who are kind of just riffing their way through Tim Burton's 1989 Batman. That's kind of the loose spine that it uses as its structure to insert jokes into, but it also touches on the comics, the Adam West Batman from the 60s, your Batman vs. Superman, Ben Affleck Batman, all the way to sparkly Twilight Batman with Robert Pattinson. And so it's really kind of just blasting its way through a ton of different jokes. It's lightly interactive in that they bring people from the audience up to play members of the Bat family, like Batman's mom, and they select an audience member to play Batman himself. And so it keeps it kind of loose in that structure. In that sense, they kind of have somebody who they're riffing off of from the audience, but it's not really, I would say, improvised in the same way that a lot of Rise comedy shows are. This is definitely more in the vein of their burgeoning sketch scene that is being developed over at Rise. It's a lot more scripted. It has really traditional, pretty and very funny setups and jokes that it's written throughout that repeat. I would say that the moments that kind of actually didn't work as well were those moments of improv where the actors kind of indulged themselves. I should
Exactly.
say this was also the final performance of 2025 that they're doing. They say that they hope to bring it back in 2026 so more folks can check this out. They've been doing this all of 2025 and it's been a big hit. When I was there, it was pretty much sold out and the crowd was definitely into it, save for those bit moments of like when they would play Sex with Me, which is a traditional short form improv game, or there was like this riff between Harvey Dent and the mayor about like them having sex with each other that would just keep coming back. And it was not funny the first time, and it got even less funny the more they did it. And it's just those little things. I think it was, they just got a little bit indulgent. It was a little bit too long. It was billed as 90 minutes, but I was in my seat for an hour 45.
Wow.
So you could just feel that a little bit of bloat, but the show itself is a whole heck of a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounded great. Reading that, well, for one thing, reading about the 1989 reminded me that I was in New York City and saw that like when it first opened in theaters, and it was such an exciting movie to see. The audience was like screaming and cheering. It was crazy, and it was because Batman is such an interesting property, and nothing had been done with it for like 20 years since like the Adam West. I'm sure the comic books were still there, but there was just like this built up appetite for Batman, and ever since then, it's just been Batman, Batman, Batman. It's up there with like the top 5 of all these franchises. So it's great. It's just one of these iconic characters that everybody knows everything about, so you can have so much fun with it. So that sounds. I do hope it comes back in 26 because I'd love to go see that and check that out.
Yeah, it sounds like I got to chat with Nick a little bit over email just to kind of set this up, and he said that he was pretty confident it's coming back in 2026.
Great.
So,
all right, and then you made the big trek down to Colorado Springs, which is something I think Denver people hate doing, but you did it,
and it's not that bad. I think Denver folks, stop complaining. There's some really great theater in the Springs. This is an example of it.
There is.
And if you are just willing to take that about hour drive down south, that's just interstate driving. It's all super easy. You can go 75 miles an hour through most of it, too.
But it's sometimes terrifying. I expect to see a guy with an electric guitar on the front of the semi. I mean, it's just, it's people drive like, it's 75 is just not good enough. It's like, if it's 75, you got to go 90. And there's construction, and yeah, it can be a pain. But yeah, if everything's working okay, it's a really quick pop, and there is some great theater down there. And you saw a banger because you wanted to check out KVO's latest.
That's right. If Kelly Van Osprey is involved, I'm likely interested in the production. And Mary Poppins is a piece that I just personally have a lot of love for as well. It was like the film was like my introduction to musicals. This was the first live show that I saw. So it has a very special place in my heart. I haven't seen it though since I was a child. And it definitely hits different when you're watching it as an adult. I remember relating more to the children, and now I'm like, God damn, Mr. Banks is like on the brink the whole time. He's just trying to hold this family together, and he's at like, I don't know. I guess I'm aging, Alex.
Yes, it happens to the best of us.
But I just found this to be a lavishly produced, technically impressive production that features some of the sharpest choreography all year. You have really a splendid supercalifragilisticexpialidocious number in which the choreographer has the actors actually use their bodies to spell out supercalifragilisticexpialidocious using their bodies in real time as they're singing it. It was crazy. The 22-person cast was executing this choreography at a very high level. There's an insane tap number that happens in the second act that was also very effective, and folks know I love tap, so I was primed to enjoy it, and I certainly did. And just all the other technical elements. Matthew S. Crane's scenic design I thought was really, really unique. It had created a multi-level house with pieces that would roll in and out seamlessly. He had backdrops that would fly in and out on the fly system in the theater. He designed this really cool kind of cutout of the London like cityscape that was in the back and would appear in certain nighttime sequences. It's just like really impressive attention to detail. And then the cast is almost all uniformly strong. Had a couple quibbles here and there with some of the supporting performances, but in the leads as obviously as Mary Poppins herself, the actress, I hadn't seen her before, Liza Piccoli, but she absolutely knocked it out of the park. Her Mary Poppins is very restrained, but very witty. She also is kind of tragic in this version because you can see that right as she's getting close to these children and Bert and the community, she actually has to leave, and that hurts her. She wants to stay and connect, but she has other family she has to go to. And so it's really there was a lot of nuance in this production. Perhaps it's just because I'm an adult watching this story and this is a very rich text. Um, and but I really was moved by it. It's an incredible production, and this was my first time at the Colorado Springs Fine Arts Center over at the Colorado College. I thought I had been here before, but I pulled up, parked, and I was like, yeah, no, this is all totally new to me.
Yeah.
Great theater.
Yeah, beautiful facility. So Mary Poppins is, I think we mentioned, I've never really seen it. I don't know anything about it. So she has this superpower where she can fly with an umbrella. Do we know?
She's magic. Yes.
Yeah. Do we know how she gets her magic? Is there any origin story there? Or?
No, they don't. Thankfully, they don't explain it. She just is like this literal magical figure who appears. The children, right, who are very naughty, and all the other nannies who have come to like watch them have fled. So they write their own advertisement to kind of who they would think is the perfect nanny. Their father rips it up, and then bam, 2 seconds later, Mary Poppins flies in through the door. And she's just this magical force. She has this magical flying umbrella. She has a bag that she can open and pull anything out of, which they use to great comic effect. She pulls an entire hat stand out of there at one point. It's really cool. The magic in this show is pretty cool. The flying, you're going to have to strain your imagination just a hair. You can see those wires, but all the other magical bits, like there's this one part in which there is an unfrosted cake that sits on the table, and Mary Poppins puts a dish on it and pulls it up, and voila, it's a fully frosted cake right underneath it. Very seamless, very impressive close-up theatrical magic.
That's great. All right. Well, that one I think is running all the way through December, so plenty of time to check that out at the Colorado Springs Fine Arts Center at Colorado College. And then back to the silver screen, Wicked for Good. Okay, I was waiting to hear what you had to say about this one. I've seen sort of mixed reviews about it, but what was your take?
My take was Wicked for Good is not very good, and you should not see it and just see some local theater instead.
Oh.
Was very, very underwhelmed by this movie adaptation. I was very spellbound by the first one, as folks know from me talking about it. You can also read my review that I wrote for OnStage Colorado about part one.
Mm-hmm.
But this one just did not capture that same magic. I thought it looked a lot worse, featured some of the worst cinematography of the entire year.
Really? Wow.
The performances are fine, but as people who know Wicked know, the second act is kind of has just a lot of Wizard of Oz fan fiction crap in it that they kind of have to insert. On stage, it works pretty well because it's only 40 minutes and you're kind of flying through those elements, like the inclusion of the Tin Man and the Scarecrow, and you don't really question it. But when you have 2 hours and 17 minutes to really sit with these kind of ludicrous plotting elements that then are fleshed out in ways that make them even stupider, in my opinion,
oh boy.
I just think you have a mess of a movie. I was really disappointed. I was really looking forward to this one, but I just cannot in good faith recommend this.
Okay. Well, all these people are going to go see it anyway, right? So hopefully they can make the best of it.
That's true. It had a $150 million opening here in the U.S. this weekend. There's clearly a lot of demand for Wicked. I've heard from folks who did enjoy the movie. So if you're a Wicked super fan and you feel you must, maybe you will find some more to enjoy than I did. But I was very frustrated.
All right. Well, I was going to just mention one more thing. Annie and I always watch this every year, the Charlie Brown Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
So this one came a few years after, the Christmas one, and we were watching it and we're just like, man, there really is not much to it. There's like hardly any. The basic, there's this really flimsy plot point, that Peppermint Patty sort of self-invites herself and some friends over, and Charlie Brown has to figure how to get a Thanksgiving put together, while he's also has to go off to his grandma's house later on. And I don't know, it's just like, it's more like a mood piece than really a story, because it's just like, there's this, they spend like 5 minutes with Snoopy fighting with a lawn chair. And
Okay,
not that I need to review this. I was just reflecting on it. It's like, sometimes these traditional shows, like I always used to love to watch Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, until one year I watched it and I'm like, God, everybody is such an asshole to Rudolph. And I could never see it the same way again, especially Santa of all people. God, what a jerk he was. So
it's
in this
true.
case, nobody, well, Peppermint Patty was kind of being a jerk here, but she sort of is redeemed in a way. But anyway, it's short enough that you don't feel like you've spent too much time on it. But Charlie Brown Thanksgiving, I don't know. It's kind of not necessarily a thumbs down, but I don't know if I need to watch it again. So, but anyway, let's turn to the news section. So I had a random note here that I noticed on the OnStage blog, the not to be confused with the OnStage Colorado website, but the OnStage blog noted that Concord Theatricals has secured the global licensing rights to Hamilton. So that means that, we're going to start seeing schools being able to produce maybe a teen edition, and regional, local theaters are going to be able to start doing Hamilton. Community theaters, and it's been over 10 years since. So this will be like 13 years after Hamilton debuted. So what do you make of this?
I fear this means we will see a whole lot of white people rapping around the world. And that is not a thing that I can sanction in any capacity.
No, not the Eminem effect.
I mean, in all seriousness, I just know that this is like a huge moment in the theater world. Like, there will be hundreds and maybe thousands of Hamiltons now happening in community theaters, schools. And I think it's it's a really cool text to be in those places, particularly educational environments, as it's exposing people to history early on in a really accessible way. But I do kind of worry about how they will handle the race element of it. I know that Lin-Manuel Miranda has said that he doesn't feel that it needs to be done cast in the same way that it was on Broadway, that he did this to kind of reflect what America looks like today. And so there are definitely white people still in America, but it does feel, I don't know, there's an interesting tension with then now just kind of opening it up. There didn't seem to be anything in the announcement about restricting certain parts or anything via race or things like it's done in certain plays and certain musicals where you do actually write that in. So I just have some questions. I'll be curious to see how this plays out. I'm sure we will see a lot of very poorly done versions of Hamilton that will make us have these questions and conversations.
It's interesting to think that there'd be controversy over casting a white actor to play a white historical figure. It's kind of like, kind of flips the thing on its head, because usually it's something else. But yeah, I hear what you're saying, because that was what made Hamilton so interesting, was that it was cast, with people who were, different than those that were actually doing it back in the day. But we'll see what happens. There'll probably also be you'll probably also hear from schools in Texas are up in arms because the theater program wants to do Hamilton and they don't want their kids to, whatever. Who knows that we're going to hear.
There are some fairly salacious bits in Hamilton. They do get into his affair.
Yeah.
That ultimately exiled him from political life. So I will be curious to see how they handle that number, in which, in the perhaps kid version.
All right. Well, you had an email from a listener. So last week we were talking about playbills and how they've been skinny down or almost eliminated entirely. So Judy Jensen in Reno. So I was happy to hear that we have a listener in Reno. Hi, Judy. She wrote to say that playbills going away would be awful for her. She says, I have multiple binders of the shows I've seen, both Broadway that have come to Reno, visits to Denver, tons from New York. I love reading the bios and cross-referencing and saying, oh, I saw them before when they came through and, this, that, or the other play. I went to see Gutenberg at the DCPA Cabaret in August, and they did not have a playbill. Of course, that was one of many things that weren't great about that show. Disappointed. and she said, she saw her favorite show Come From Away in Modesto, California. They didn't have a playbill. Devastated, all caps. So it's very strong thoughts from Judy there, and I'm sure she probably echoes a lot of people who really love their playbills and like to save them and look through them.
Yeah, I thank you, Judy. It's great to hear your perspective, and thank you for listening. Definitely a bummer. I can particularly if you're paying a lot of money at those spaces like the DCPA Cabaret, they're charging like $50-$60 a ticket. You're like, least they could do is throw in a little program.
Yeah. It reminded me of back in the 90s when I was still living in Summit County, and after Jen and I first got together, we used to come down and see plays in Denver. And on the way home, she would read the playbill to me. She would, she would talk about, read the bios and say, oh, this person, and we got a lot of bang out of the buck for it there. But I don't necessarily, other than, of course, I look at them pretty closely when I'm writing a review for stuff. But other than that, I don't know how much people, take the time to read it. But it really is interesting. And sometimes amazing to see the shows that people have been in. Like some of these people that have been in all around the world and things like that, especially, when you're looking at these touring Broadway productions, these people have such amazing CVs. So, but anyway, Judy went on to say, I enjoy your podcast. Her daughter and family lives in Arvada, so they're always looking to see things when we visit. So thanks again, Judy Jensen from Reno, one of many thousands of responses we got about that episode last week. Just kidding. So thanks for writing in. And then you had some news also from back up north.
That's right. So when I went up to Candlelight Dinner Theater in Johnstown to see Million Dollar Quartet Christmas, it also happened to be the same day that they announced its 19th season, which runs September 2026 through 2027. I'm not used to saying that combination out loud yet.
Yeah, 2027.
But it had some really interesting titles in here. They're kicking it off with a really big musical, Les Miserables, which they're doing. It's kicking off in September 10th, 2026 through November 15th, 2026. That's a great pick for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, have they? I'm sure they've done that before, haven't they?
They have.
Yeah. And then they're doing Irving Berlin's Holiday Inn for Christmas next year. And then in the beginning of 27, Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, which pretty sure I've seen that. I don't remember what it's all about other than what the title suggests.
I've never seen this one. I don't know anything other than the title. But according to Jolene Courtney Webb, who is in charge of marketing and sales over at Candlelight, this was their most requested title from their audience.
Interesting. All right. And then they're going to do Finding Neverland. And we're just thinking so far ahead there. This is April of 2027. So, we're going to be in the thick of, well, not yet. I was thinking like we'll be in the election season, but that's actually an off year. So, and then a TBA show in the summer of 27. She said, so this is a show that hasn't been announced because it's being performed somewhere else in Colorado right now, and said, if you think about it, you can figure it out. So, Toni, I'm sure you put your theatrical mind to this and thought about it. What did you come up with?
That's right. Yeah. So when I heard from Jolene that it was already selected and it was being performed actively somewhere else in Colorado. And then one other key, with that combined with one other key detail, I was able to, I think, figure this out. I'm almost 100% sure that I've got it. So she said in the pre-show announcement that this show is going to be announced on January 5th, 2026. So I naturally thought, what mega show closes on January 4th, 2026? I'll give you a hint. It's up at the Arvada Center right now. Then that combined with when I looked at the season announcement poster, I thought for 2 seconds, what show could a blue icy palette represent in this spot that TBA is?
Right. Okay.
I don't know. That combined with Candlelight being known for putting on big crowd-pleasing shows that make a buttload of cash, all led me to a guess that they're going to be performing Frozen after the Arvada Center closes it.
I think that's a great guess. And then you were noted here that Frozen is killing it at the Arvada Center, right?
That's right. So a friend of the pod, John Moore, over at the Denver Gazette, reported that Frozen has melted the Arvada Center's box office records And that was before the musical even opened last Friday. So if you're one of the folks who has been paywalled by the Denver Gazette and can't read the article, here's a few of the key takeaways. I know John says that his articles are not paywalled, but they're back to being paywalled for me.
Yeah.
John, if you have any thoughts and you're listening right now, please reach out.
He's going to say, buy a subscription, you cheap ass.
That's fair.
Anyway, what did he say in there?
So this Disney musical is going to set the all-time revenue mark before it even opens. And so according to Lynn Collins, who's the artistic director up there, that means it's the best-selling thing that they've ever done. And that covers 49 years of shows.
Wow.
So the previous biggest selling musical in the Arvada Center history was Elf back in 2016, which generated $1.196 million in ticket revenue.
Great show.
And yeah, I didn't see that one. I'm glad it was good.
It was.
But Frozen was within $8,000 of passing that mark by midday on last Thursday, which is 30 hours before that show was even open to the public. And so the Arvada Center is now projecting more than $1.265 million in Frozen sales.
Great. Good to hear.
Yeah, and it definitely is, particularly because, as John noted in his piece, companies like the Arvada Center, they obviously depend on subscribers who come to see every single show that they stage throughout the year. But they, like the Colorado Ballet and their production of the Nutcracker, they also rely on these outliers who only come to maybe one show every single year, usually whatever is being staged in this holiday spot.
Yep. All right. Well, that's great. Well, I'm looking forward to we're gonna get out there to see Frozen with the granddaughters here pretty soon. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. I'm going to be seeing that one in early December. Hopefully when there's some actual snow on the ground.
Yeah, I don't know if it's ever gonna happen.
Yeah, we'll see. But just for folks, a little fun fact, it's going to break the box office record over at the Arvada Center, but the total attendance record is probably safe. That distinction goes to its 2008 production of Les Miserables, which drew over 22,000 people.
And why won't Frozen approach that number? Is it a shorter run?
I'm not sure, actually. John did not elaborate in the piece, but just kind of stated that as well as this other additional kind of tidbit that he included in the piece, that the Lady Day at Emerson's Bar and Grill and the Mousetrap have both exceeded their attendance projections. So no numbers were provided for that to kind of back that up. I would believe that with the Mousetrap. I was chatting with Leslie Simon, who does the PR for them, back in September, and she said that show was selling like crazy, one of their best-selling plays. More surprising to hear about Lady Day, but I guess that one is based on a very well-known historical figure.
Yeah. Great. And you had a couple of other news items to close out here. What else?
Yeah, so since this is our Thanksgiving week episode, I wanted to round out the news section with two interesting Colorado arts capital campaigns, which are a form of community giving, technically. So first, the Arts Hub in Lafayette has just launched an ambitious $5 million capital campaign to strengthen its facilities, expand programming capacity, and ensure long-term sustainability for generations of local artists in the Boulder County area. So this campaign is focused on eliminating the organization's existing $2.5 million facility mortgage, increasing the classroom and performance space that they have, and then establishing an endowment that will guarantee stable access to arts education for youth and adults across the region.
Okay, good for them.
Yeah, I would say that they are definitely in a growth phase right now from talking with the team over there. Everybody was very, very sad when BDT Stage closed down. That left a massive void in Boulder's theater scene, particularly the musical theater scene. And that is being filled in large part by the Arts Hub over in Lafayette. A lot of the actors and directors who previously did work at BDT Stage are now finding their artistic home over here at the Arts Hub. So with that kind of rapid growth that they've seen, the organization says that this moment is very critical. And since its launch of this capital campaign on October 18th, it's already raised over $20,000.
Great. Great. Well, that's good to know that, that void is being filled. And that's the way things work. Oftentimes, it's
Mhm.
sad to see something go, but then oftentimes something comes in and fills in its place. So that's great to see that going on in Lafayette.
Definitely. And then in the metro area, we had a pretty cool announcement from Cleo Parker Robinson Dance in Denver, who announced both a major funding milestone in its capital campaign, $25 million, and a date, January 17th, 2026, for the grand opening and cutting of its new edition that has been under construction for about a year and a half now, if I'm remembering it right. It's been a little bit at
Yeah.
this point. So that's very exciting to hear that they've got that date to have it open to the public. And so this week-long celebration is being planned around Denver's annual Martin Luther King Day activities. This dance company is going to be christening its new 2,500 square foot wing, which is situated adjacent to its current century-old headquarters in the Five Points neighborhood. So
I should say
that does mean
25,000 square foot wing,
Oh, did I
right?
I misspoke. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Add a
No, no,
zero.
you are correct. That's correct. I misspoke. I don't want to sell them short. It's an impressive space, but
Uh-huh.
it does mean that with that new space coming online, this year is going to be the final presentation of Granny Dances to a Holiday Drum in its historic headquarters. After 34 years being done there, this is the final one. We are going to take a quick break, and when we return, we are going to discuss our top 10 Colorado headliners, which you will notice have a holiday tent to them. And then we're going to throw it to Alex's interview with Meghan and Amber to hear more about Moonlight Elves.
OnStage Colorado is brought to you by the Aurora Fox Arts Center, presenting the Farnsdale Avenue Housing Estate Townswomen's Guild Dramatic Society's production of A Christmas Carol, November 28th through December 21st. The Fox will welcome some of the true grand dames of the Colorado theater community to the stage for this hilarious, nonstop journey into a holiday show gone utterly and madly wrong. Tickets at aurorafoxartscenter.org. And we're supported by the Colorado Springs Fine Arts Center at Colorado College, presenting Mary Poppins through December 20th. This classic tale of a struggling family brought back together by a special nanny and a spoonful of sugar will bring extra cheer to your holiday season. Tickets at fac.coloradocollege.edu. OnStage Colorado receives support from the Boulder Ensemble Theater Company, whose production of Every Brilliant Thing plays December 5th through 28th at the Dairy Arts Center in Boulder. This one-man show, starring Matt Zambrano, is a deeply funny and life-affirming play that lifts up the good in all of us. Tickets at betc.org. This episode is also sponsored by Colorado Candlelight, presenting Million Dollar Quartet Christmas through January 11th. Set in a Christmas-decorated studio, this holiday edition of Million Dollar Quartet features Johnny Cash, Jerry Lee Lewis, Carl Perkins, and Elvis Presley with holiday tunes and fun-filled stories of Christmas past, present, and future. Tickets at coloradocandlelight.com. Also supporting the podcast is Curious Theater Company, whose production of Job runs November 8th through December 7th. With razor-edge dialogue and an unsettling edge, Job is a taut, provocative thriller that asks urgent questions about mental health, corporate loyalty, and what we're willing to sacrifice to keep our place in the system. Tickets at curioustheater.org. We also received support from Miners Alley Performing Arts Center, presenting 2 holiday shows through December 28th. First, it's Stocking Stuffers, a brand new adults-only musical comedy packed with heart, a healthy dose of irreverence, and big laughs with a holiday twist. Plus, It's a Wonderful Life, a live radio play, a fully staged production that brings the beloved holiday classic to life. Tickets at minersalley.com.
Okay, it is time for this week's headliners. These are some of the shows of interest that are coming up in the next week or so that we think you should check out. And this time of year, we are definitely zeroing in on the holiday titles since there is a ton of them coming up. So,
Yep.
Alex, what do you have to start with?
Well, first, I just wanted to mention that our ginormous holiday calendar is back on the website. So there's an easy link to find to all these holiday shows. This is your go-to place to find holiday shows in Colorado. And we don't just do theater. We'll throw in anything people send. So there's things like, carol things and some, brass or classical performances, things like that. Anything that's, if you're hankering for Yuletide fare, check it out. You can find it on the homepage. And it's really easy for me to say that this is something we've been working on all year. So we start adding these shows as soon as we hear about them, and we tag them with the holiday thing, so it's easy to find them. And nobody has a calendar this comprehensive for Yuletide live performance. I was looking at I noticed the Colorado Theater Guild has really let their calendar kind of fall by the wayside. It doesn't have nearly as much stuff as it used to. So maybe they're not, they just don't have the support for that like they used to. So if you're looking for shows, OnStage Colorado Theater Calendar, I'm just going to go ahead and plug ourselves there and say it's the place to go. So I'm going to start off with...
It's certainly the place that I start when I'm researching events that I pitch all around town, because I'm like, it's definitely the most comprehensive. Visit Denver doesn't compare. Westward's calendar isn't even close. Yeah, OnStage Colorado is the place to look for live events.
Yep. And if you're looking for some volunteer hours for your whatever thing you want to do, we can always use help with the calendar. Anyway, well, my first calendar highlight for the holiday season is What the Dickens. So this is at What If Theater in Lakewood, November 28th through December 27th. So there are a lot of details on this, but they do a lot of fun with improv. So they're doing an improv on, obviously some of the Christmas Carol stuff with grumps, urchins, ghosts, and loads of holiday cheer. So that's over in Lakewood.
I'm going to do my best to make it out to that one in early December. I'm curious to see what that theater is all about. I haven't been to What If Theater.
I know. I want to get up there sometime too, so let us know.
My first pick, I won't spend too long on it because you likely know it. If you're in the metro area, you've likely seen billboards or signs about it. But it's worth mentioning because it's a really splendid production. It's A Christmas Carol, produced by the DCPA's theater company. It's in previews now. It started out on the 21st. It opens officially this weekend, and it runs through December 28th. This is the story of Ebenezer Scrooge as he is visited by three spirits who kind of force him to reconsider his greedy ways. This tale is very timeless. It's done with like a musical spin. It's very, very well done.
Yep. Also known as Rehabilitation of an Asshole.
That's right. I mean, we could definitely use some of that in 2025. I'm not sure if we're going to get that, but...
Trump is visited by three ghosts. Yeah, I love it. My next one is Stocking Stuffers. So this is going to be at Miners Alley in Golden. It opens real soon, November 28th, and runs through December 28th. So this is a brand new thing from the people who brought us the Great American Trailer Park musical. So this is an adults-only holiday comedy. It's a musical. I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun with this really kind of real trashy sensibility that they've brought to these trail trash shows. So I'm looking forward to getting out to see that one. I think you're going to go review that one as well, right, Toni?
I am. I'm going to be there the December 3rd, first week of December.
All right. And then also Miners Alley is doing It's a Wonderful Life, a live radio play, which is a much more familiar title. But that's I think this is the first for them where they're running two holiday shows concurrently, also through December 28th. So you can really get your fill of holiday stage stuff there at Miners Alley this season.
That's a good point, Alex. They've done in the past the holiday show as their main stage, like with the adults, and then a kids show that they've kind of swapped out during the day, like an interactive kids show. But this is two fully produced shows. That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how they only have the one theater now. They're going to expand at some point, but I'm not sure how they're stacking it up. But I'm sure it'll be challenging to add to the calendar.
I won't spend too long on my next pick since we're going to have a whole interview about this show and collaboration in just a few minutes. But Moonlight Elves, produced by Theater Artibus over and being staged at the Savoy in Denver. Sounds like a real hoot. This runs November 26th through December 7th, and it takes place inside the Moonlight Cabaret, where two rival elf houses are ready to clash. And what begins as a merry competition quickly spirals into comedic chaos with plenty of circus acts and audience mischief along the way.
Yep. Yeah, and in our upcoming interview, we'll hear about the difference between the elves who live in the North Pole and those which I didn't even know that there are elves in the South Pole, but in this show there are, and there are definitely a different stripe of elf that lives down there. So So, you'll hear more about that here in just a sec. My next one is Let Nothing You Dismay. This is a show by Topher Payne at the Firehouse Theater, which they do their shows, of course, at the John Hand Theater in Denver. This will be through December 21st. And this is, it's called, it says, it's a Christmas and Kevin and Allie are about to become parents. They're just waiting for a phone call. Their father visits with his much younger wife. There's mothers with a veterinarian. It sounds like one of these just maybe sort of batty family comedies. So 8 actors played 22 characters in this lightning-paced holiday farce that celebrates families of all kinds. So that sounds like an awful lot of fun. I'm going to get out to see that early next week. I'm going to go to Industry Night on early December, so I'll have a review of that.
Well, I've yet to dislike anything from Topher Payne, so I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the script and how they produce the show over at Firehouse. My next pick is gotta be the longest title of any of the shows we're going to be discussing this week. It is the Farndale Avenue Housing Estate Townswomen's Guild's Dramatic Society's production of A Christmas Carol, being staged at the Aurora Fox Arts Center, November 28th through December 21st. And this show follows the ladies of the Farndale Housing Estate as they produce their stage version of A Christmas Carol. It sounds like it is kind of a riffing on the bad community theater productions that may exist of this, and kind of just some really, I'm not sure exactly what to expect from it, but sounds like a hoot.
Yeah, for sure. And that is definitely a very long title. I just find this kind of annoying, but whatever. Gets the point across, I guess. The next one is There Nothing You Can't Make a Holiday Edition out of? This is Murder for Two. Holiday Edition will be at Theater Silco up in Silverthorne, December 5th through 21st. So this is a show that we love. We've seen the original here. It's a really fun two-hander where both actors play piano. This one is tweaked to be this musical comedy murder mystery whodunit set at a Christmas Eve party where some great novelist is found murdered and everybody's a suspect, and there's a detective wannabe who's examined all the clues, so it sounds very familiar there. So it's a blend of music, mayhem, and murder for the holidays, and that will be up at Theater Silco. So if you're up there making some turns, if there's any snow, well, there's a few runs open with some man-made stuff, and hopefully they'll get some fresh stuff. If you're in Silverthorne in December, this one is one to check out.
Like you said, I am just baffled by all the holiday theming where you just take a regular show and you just tack on holiday. But you know what? Fair enough. It is a hoot. It's a great show. It's really fun, very fast. And I guess, why can't the murder happen at the holidays?
That's right.
I'll round us out with 2 final headliners. First one is Drunk Christmas by Audacious Immersive. They're doing this in breweries throughout the Denver metro as usual, November 28th through December 21st. And this is an interactive, streamlined adaptation of A Christmas Carol. It's a lot of fun. The actors are getting drunk as they're trying to push through A Christmas Carol, and it often leads to some very silly situations.
Yes, it's very fun.
And then my final headliner is Irving Berlin's White Christmas at the Butte Theater in Cripple Creek. This runs November 28th through December 28th, and it is based on the movie of the same name. It follows veterans Bob and Phil, who have a successful song and dance act after World War II. And with romance in mind, they follow a duo of beautiful singing sisters en route to their Christmas show at a Vermont lodge that just so happens to be owned by their former Army commander.
All right. Yeah, I've never seen that one. That sounds like a fun one to check out in Cripple Creek.
Yeah, I've also never seen White Christmas, the movie or the musical.
All right.
Well, just a quick note, a programming note here. On the next podcast, as we've done in the past, we are going to focus on shows happening in December that are not holiday themed because, sometimes we need a break from all that. But now we are going to go to Alex's interview with Meghan and Amber to hear just a little bit more about their upcoming collaboration on Moonlight Elves.
All right, we are here with Amber Blais with Starry Night Productions and Meghan Frank from Theater Artibus. Thanks so much for being on the OnStage Colorado podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Very excited to be here.
Yeah, you guys have a really cool show coming up called Moonlight Elves. It's kind of a Christmassy show. It's running November 26th through December 7th at the Savoy in Denver, which is sort of the home of Artibus. But this is not the first thing that you guys have done together. But before we get to that, let me just ask, start with the basics. What is Moonlight Elves, and how would you describe it to someone who's maybe never experienced like a circus immersive show like this before?
It's kind of mix between a variety show, theatrical show, and then we have a little bit of a social game that is in alignment with the game Werewolves or Traders. And you can opt in to any of these. So you can come at the level that feels comfortable. If you want to just come and watch circus, we have 20 of the best performers in Colorado coming and performing on a rotating basis, or you can join in and then be part of the world, and you're given a character and you get to play the game. It's going to be a great time.
Uh-huh. I'm sure. So, and what ages are you thinking? Like, what's the youngest that would be enjoying this kind of thing?
We're thinking probably 6 years old, 6+ kind of KG age and up, just because it requires a lot of moving around and fun and kind of some autonomy of your body. So as an audience member, but it's such a variety of things. We hope that, it's really all ages can really, truly enjoy it, and adults
Uh-huh.
especially.
Okay. Great. And just real quick, do you know what that noise is? There's some
Oh,
noise in the
yeah,
background.
I'm so sorry. Just give me 1 minute.
Okay. I can edit out a lot of stuff, but that one might be tough. It's that
We're
Booba
getting ready
character.
for showtime, so I think Booba, our other collaborator, is probably building something.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I know Booba. I'm sure he's
Yeah.
busy back there. So that's great.
Thank you so much for doing this, by the way. We really appreciate it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's fun. I love doing the podcast interviews. I get to talk to all these great theater artists. Yeah.
I really apologize. It was my dog. I was hoping that you didn't hear, but he was throwing himself against the door trying to join us in the
Okay, and
interview.
here we were
So
blaming it on Booba.
I was like, it's probably Booba. He's probably building something, or
it
like
is
leading
it
something
is
for the
Booba's
show.
fault, since he was supposed I was like, why are you watching the dog? So I very much apologize. I don't know if we have
No
to
worries.
redo
No
everything.
worries. So this is what, the third at least collaboration between Starry Night and Theater Artibus. So you did this summer, you did the swashbuckling adventures of Captain Zeb, and around this time last year you did the glowing. And so what have you found to be the thing that works for these collaborations between the two? What's the synergy or the match there?
Ooh, that's a great question. I really love Artibus's devising process because I'm more used to in circus, we each work in a silo and then we come together and bring all of our acts together. But because we're all experts in our own particular apparatus, we kind of have a container and then we're creating our individual things and then we weave it together. But Artibus has this really lovely process of creating all of the magical moments and devising beautiful works. So that's kind of my favorite part.
All right, Megan.
Yeah, I really love working with Starry Night, especially with Amber, because she has such an expansive view of what circus is and what circus can become. And it really becomes our interest also on the Artibus side to really think about the audience as a character in the show. So how in our way in the circus immersive world, and then us who do a lot of kind of audience forward type of theatrical devising, how we kind of merge it together, and find a way for the audience to feel joy, to feel all of these ways that they can truly be part of the performance, which is always kind of something that I've been really interested in and find in Starry Night Productions, like a real genuine, not only interest, but dedication to that idea through like a really different format than Artibus. Although we're adjacent in terms of our theatrical likings, you will not see me spinning really fast on an aerial rig by any means, but you might see me tripping underneath it. So it works really well as a partnership, I think, in that way, and expands us, allows us to work together to be as expansive as possible.
Uh-huh.
I think our dedication to creating original works is also something that has a lot of synergy. Where both companies are very passionate about creating something new and wonderful and heartwarming, and that is very magical to me.
All right. Well, thinking about this show pits North Pole elves against South Pole elves. So where did this creative concept come from? What made you think to put this kind of playful twist on traditional holiday show?
Well, I think we're always looking for a way to explore kind of the themes that the holidays bring up. Like last year was glowing, finding lightness in the dark. And this year we wanted to really play very specifically with kind of the variety show format. And we were looking for a fun container for that. And what works best in theater, but a good old fashioned conflict. And this kind of fell into our lap as an idea where we could have what the theme of a holiday is. Like, is it like this? So we've kind of created the South Pole elves as being these kind of wild, folkloric, kind of interested in mischief and mayhem, and the North Pole elves being a little bit more industrious and by the book, and kind of creating like two different versions of what the holiday can mean to folks, hopefully some combination of those two, and allowing for that to kind of create fun and chaos for us as we created.
And we really like the idea of trying to be as inclusive and accessible as possible to people. And I know the holidays kind of center around Christmas, but we're trying to incorporate as much as we can with the North and the South Pole elves, and everyone celebrates the holidays in different ways. And the North Pole elves may work for Santa, but the South Pole elves bring a variety of different viewpoints, and we want anyone to feel welcome to come to our shows and enjoy them.
Now, is there a Santa as the lead elf for the North Pole elves? And if so, is there a lead South Pole elf?
Well, Santa is coming. We have Santa coming on Saturdays and Sundays, and we're really excited about that. But he is not a big part of the show. It's really all about the people rather than the leaders. We're just the humble workers, and we're coming together. The North Pole elves are having their annual holiday party to celebrate another successful year completing making presents, and the South Pole elves have decided to crash it. So it's the everyman. We're coming together to have a chaotic holiday season.
Uh-huh. I love it. I love it. I love that the North Pole elves are kind of like the conservatives, and the South Poles are like kind of the Loki, type elves. That makes total sense to me somehow. But yeah, because we've never thought about South Pole elves before, but they've got to be.
I know they're very underrepresented. We hope this changes everything.
So thinking about the creative process, so you've got over 20 different Colorado circus and variety performers in this rotating cast. So how do you bring together all these diverse disciplines? You've got aerial arts, juggling, magic, puppetry, acrobatics, all into one cohesive show.
That's the magic of circus. I love it. We have such talented performers in Colorado. I always try to showcase a wide variety of talents in Starry Night shows. I know that's very important to Artibus as well. We have immigrants, we have BIPOC artists, we have artists that identify as having disabilities. We have LGBTQ plus artists. We have the gamut of people who are able to showcase these amazing talents. And these humans are so wonderful and such great performers. It's very easy to put this together because my colleagues are just so wonderful and talented.
I think what you'll find for this show, which is a little bit different than most Artibus fare, is that it really is in a lot of ways like a variety show. You'll see different acts that are presented, and the elves kind of help tie everything together through kind of like a little narrative storyline. So that makes it also possible for us to create the story and then bring in all of these other artists to showcase their talents too. And we'll also give like a humongous variety to people that are just coming to see and wanting something really fun and bodacious to come visit the holidays with.
Bodacious. All right. That's a good word. So in this show, the audience gets to they choose their elf house and participate in the show. Can you talk about how you balance the scripted elements with audience interaction and improv?
We've created a fun game. So when an audience member comes in, they can choose if they want to join it. And if they do, they get to choose an envelope. And inside that envelope, they'll have a little name tag, and it will tell them if they're from the North Pole or the South Pole. And it will give them a little bit of a role. And so when they come in, they get to have this role if they so choose, and they get to play that throughout the evening. And there's some fun twists and turns as the evening goes on. But it's kind of structured around also watching the show. So it's a fun experiment in how we can have this agency and play while also allowing for these talented performers to showcase their work.
Right. So along the way, were there some creative challenges that you had to kind of get past in developing this production, or any moments where you had to kind of like rethink things, or did it just go smoothly?
Well, because we make our own work, we never start with the script. So there's always that moment of sitting in that empty room and being like, oh, okay, we have what we think we want it to be. And now what does it want to be itself? And, how do we create this? So there's always that moment. I wouldn't say of difficulty, but of like welcome challenge. And sometimes you go into that room and you say, I don't really know. I don't know what this needs to be at the moment. So it's kind of like facing that unknown as part of the theatrical process, which we find, like, depending on the day, can feel awesome and amazing because anything is possible, and also sometimes challenging. And I will also say that Lonnie Amber, can
Hands-on.
you help me out? Lonnie
Yeah,
Hansen, who does
Lonnie
Camp Christmas.
Hands-on. Yeah, Lonnie Hands-on from Camp Christmas was so kind and helped us with some decorations for the Savoy. So a lot of our sets are miles of garland, 500 feet of garland, and
Wow.
at 8 Christmas trees, and just LED lights everywhere. And we're a very small team, so it was 3 of us plus some volunteers who kindly donated their time putting up this garland. So when you walk in to the space, you'll see a magical holiday wonderland. And we're so grateful to Lonnie, who's also in the midst of Camp Christmas. So it was very wonderful of him to take the time to support us. And that's something that we really value about the artistic community in Denver, is that we're all so supportive of each other, and there's a lot of collaboration across the board. But that was very challenging because that garland is not kind to your hands.
And a little heavy. So
Very heavy.
Okay. Well, yeah, Lonnie
Maybe we'll-
Hansen is definitely a good person to have in your corner for something like that. And of course, if you want to see this year's iteration of Camp Christmas, it'll be going on over at the Stanley Marketplace there. Well, I wanted to ask also about, so talking about like kind of the set or the design, the Savoy Denver becomes the Moonlight Cabaret for the show. So how does the venue itself become part of the storytelling? I was thinking back to last year with the glowing, the lighting and the atmosphere was very dark and purpley, and it was really cool. Are you looking for something kind of like that this year too, where people feel just kind of embraced by the whole thing?
Love
this year-
immersive because sorry, Megan, do you want to take this?
You go for it. You take it
Okay.
on.
Well,
Yeah.
I just love immersive because it allows us to create worlds that people can come into. And I always think of the venue as one of the characters, and it's such an awesome opportunity to be able to transform a space. And the Savoy is already so beautiful. It doesn't really need a lot to transform it into this beautiful vibe. But I think this year, even more than glowing, we're completely transforming it.
And this year we're going to do it pretty much in the round, which is a little bit different. So the really interesting thing about the Savoy is you can really play with how you want the audience to sit. So this year, as an extra challenge, because it's a small space and lighting comes from all sides, we're actually kind of creating it in the round. So, or at least, yes, the round, I would say. So audiences will be able to sit on kind of all 4 sides of the playing space, which will be in the middle of the stage. So that will be exciting and fun, I think, and a little bit different than other times we've done shows. And will feel a little bit different than glowing, because glowing, I think, was like our big experiment to try to actually fully combine the idea of like circus integrated in a story. And this allows the premise to be a variety show that allows us to have a little bit more fun and play with the audience throughout the show.
Okay. And so, speaking of that, you're encouraging audiences to wear costumes and elf ears. So what kind of atmosphere are you hoping to create in the lobby and throughout the evening? And like, what kind of, other than elf ears, what might they just kind of wear, like any kind of Christmassy thing, or what are you hoping people show up in?
We have some really fun festive surprises for them in the lobby. We have some activities they can do in addition to meeting Santa. There may be some carol singing, there may be some ornament making. Tiffany of Art Smiths is another great Denver artist. She works in handmade leather goods, and she's creating leather elf ears that you can purchase if you want to get extra elfy. We're also working with another Colorado artist named Peter Worth, who's making cute little magic wands if you want to get magical and South Poley. So we have some cute things that can help add to people's experiences, and we love working with local artists to showcase a lot of their goods. And we're also really excited to be working with Tom Varani, who is my business partner at Starry Night Productions and is the world builder. And so he has painted the floors, and his artwork is around the space. So you can become an elf through his magic.
So if you're looking in your closet, you can kind of decide what kind of elf you feel like you really want to be, and what kind of character you want to bring to the space. It's up to you. Yeah.
That's great. So I love that there's this rotating cast of, there's not always a lot of opportunity for circus and variety artists, to find kind of a big tent like this. What does it mean to you, who are both immersed in these worlds, to provide this opportunity to these artists?
Well, we really hope that it can become not only around this time a tradition at the Savoy, which I think is really a lovely venue to showcase this kind of work in its own right, but also through the Artibus and Starry Night. We'd love to see if this can become a traditional adage to both of our seasons, and hope that we can also continue that throughout the year. This year, the Savoy is actually launching its first quote-unquote season of work, in which we're highlighting a lot of the different artists that come through the Savoy space, including Artibus and Starry Night, as well as Boulder Ensemble Theater Company, Sphere Ensemble, Music Appreciation Society, and a couple of other really lovely and amazing and cross-disciplinary artists. And as a way to do that, I think we would really love to, and also kind of a young audience series that we're really hoping to get more young people in the Savoy and doing interactive art. So we have a big year ahead of us, and we hope that cabaret and circus becomes kind of really a mainstay of the Savoy throughout the year, but especially always on the holidays. So we hope that provides the opportunity for family. Amber does a lot of those kind of cabaret opportunities. She's done a few at the People's Building, which is also a really lovely venue. And we hope to kind of bring that creative genius of Amber Blais to more of the forefront next year at the Savoy.
I do want to say that the Savoy is a family-run venue. It is the priority of Meghan and her family to make the Savoy someplace that supports the artistic community in Colorado. And it is so important. There aren't many venues that something like this is possible. So just Starry Night in general, we're very grateful that this place exists, and it has become a home to us as it has to many other artists. And so I think it's so important just to acknowledge that, because without places like this, I don't know where we could do shows of this nature.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I wanted to ask a quick one for each of you. Start with you, Amber. If you had to pick, are you Team North Pole Elf or Team South Pole Elf, and why?
I am a South Pole elf through and through. My team has been chosen for me, but
okay,
I love it. I'm very mischievous.
Okay.
And of course, I'm the North Pole one, the one that has all of the very exciting but nervous energy to get things done and get them done right. So we kind of cast ourselves, I think, into our perfect roles. I think Amber embraces chaos and optimism, and like the wonder of the unknown and kind of the magic that's possible in the real world. And I think she always kind of helps me balance myself out in terms of like doing the thing and getting it done and trying to make it possible. So North Pole.
All right. You guys look like a great team, the yin and yang of elvery, if that's a word. So, all right. Well, so Moonlight Elves runs November 26th through December 7th at the fantastic Savoy in Denver. And I think you can find tickets on the Theater Artibus site or the starrynight.com site, or either one.
Oh, that's right. Both.
Okay. All right. Well, anything else you want to add before we go?
Have a fantastic beginning of your holiday, and we hope that you spend it with us. We guarantee a good time.
All right.
Yeah. Bring all your friends.
All right. Well, Amber Blais and Meghan Frank, thanks so much for being on the OnStage Colorado. Break legs all around with all that elvery of one kind or another, and we'll see you out there at the Savoy.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you
Thanks
so
for having
much.
us.
I feel so much more educated about elves now, Alex.
I know. Who knew there was all this going on with these rival gangs of elves?
Yeah, they're a lot of fun. I'm glad that Meghan and Amber made some time to talk with us on the OnStage Colorado podcast. And with that brings us to the end of our show for this week. But don't worry, we will be back next week with another exciting podcast episode centered on those December shows that are not holiday themed.
And there's bound to be some of them. We'll track them down for you. So in addition to that conversation, we'll also have an interview that I just did with M. Perez and Joe McIver from Unleashed Theater. So this is a newish theater company. They've got a new play that's holiday themed, but definitely unconventional, opening December 16th, titled Christmas Movie, the play, The Beginning. It's billed as Hallmark Christmas meets 80s slasher in a bloody tale to get you in the mood for the holiday season. So it was really fun talking to them about this and how their take on the Hallmark movies and mashing it up with a slasher thing. So, and it sounds like they're kind of taking a page out of the Audacious Theater playbook with rotating performances at tap rooms and restaurants, including Western Sky in Inglewood, Junkyard Social in Boulder, and the 2 Ratio Beer Works locations in Rhino and Overland. So stick around next week for that conversation.
Yeah, that I am excited to hear more, and I'm going to be checking that out in Boulder at the Junkyard Social on December 17th for OnStage. So I'll have my review of that coming soon.
Cool.
But in the meantime, what can listeners find on the OnStage Colorado website now and coming soon?
Well, Tony Tresca has been a very, very busy boy. He might wind up on the nice list for theater reviewers this year because he's been very busy. So we've got your reviews of Wild Oscillation from Hold Tight, which is sort of like a very unusual dance/dinner theater kind of thing. That sounded really interesting. Your Million Dollar Quartet Christmas at Candlelight. Your review of Camp Christmas 2025 at Stanley Marketplace. Batman Live at Rise Comedy. And as soon as I have the photos from the folks at the Fine Arts Center, I'll have your review of Mary Poppins up in there, and as well as Judah Sears' review of The Importance of Being Earnest by TheaterWorks, also down in the Springs at the rival University of Colorado Springs facility there. So just another reminder to theater people, marketers, if you have production photos of your show, don't wait, send them.
Great reminder. If you want to stay up to date on what is going on in theaters across the entire state, be sure that you are subscribed to the OnStage Colorado Theater Blast, which is a newsletter that comes out every Thursday, rounds up all the reviews, news, and features a really fascinating calendar listing of all the stuff that's happening on stage that upcoming weekend so that you can make your plans. And then also be sure that you rate, review, and are subscribed to this podcast so that you never miss an episode.
That's right. All right. Well, that's all for this week. Everybody have a great Thanksgiving holiday there. Stay safe, and we will see you next week. Thanks for listening. I'm Alex Miller.
And I'm Toni Tresca, and we'll see you at the show.
At the holiday show.